Excellent. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Andrew Pryfogle, founder and CEO of CX Effect, and here with our friend Ritesh Idnani, who's the CRO of Uniphore. Really excited about this conversation around AI, how it ties into EQ, this idea of the bridge between emotional AI and GPT or generative AI, how all that plays together, why that's an important consideration. Ritesh, it's good to have you, my friend. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Andrew. It's a pleasure to be on this.
Yeah, likewise. Why don't we start real quick? Give us a quick background, if you could, Ritesh. Where do you come from? What's your background? And tell us the little bit about your role at Uniphore start.
Absolutely. So I'm originally from India. I grew up in Bombay. I still can't get myself to say Mumbai, but I left the shores of India about 25 years back after finishing my B school and working in Citigroup. That's where I earned my craft in banking, if you will. And then I'm an accidental interloper into the field of tech. Now I've been in the field of tech now for about 25 years in the tech and tech-enabled services space. But I cut my teeth with a company called Infosys, which at that point in time was a $100 million business pre-NASDAQ. And I was part of the leadership team that's helped scale the business from a $100 million revenue company to an $8 billion revenue enterprise when I moved out. Moved into the world of private equity venture. I was the CEO of a mortgage-backed SaaS business. Then did a startup in the healthcare space, got my battle scars there. Was at the same time on the board of the largest cargo handling company. Then joined a business conglomerate called the Mahindra Group, where I was running their technology business, which was about a $5 billion revenue enterprise. Yep. And that's where I actually ran into Uniphore. I was a customer of Uniphore, for about a year before I moved out, and saw the impact that AI was having on customer experience, and felt that this was going to be quite a significant shift in terms of how the world was going to change.
Sure.
And that's what prompted me to get in touch with the founders and the board, and eventually come on board to help scale the business to the next level. So at Uniphore, I'm the CRO. I help drive all growth and help scale the business to the next level.
Excellent. Well, fantastic. Great background. I appreciate that. Ritesh, you and I were both at CCW last week in Vegas, and I've been to a bunch of those over the years. This was different, considerably different. There's this different vibe around at CCW with all around AI, right? I mean, it seemed like every booth there, every conversation going on were customers and providers talking about, what does AI mean to our business, to our future? What's your strategy around it? There's a tremendous amount of buzz around this. You told me recently that what ChatGPT has done in the past 6 months has really elevated AI into the boardroom, and it's becoming a very, very high level strategic conversation that the enterprises are now wrestling with. Speak to that just for a moment. Why is this so quickly become such a huge strategic imperative for enterprises of all sizes?
So let's take a step back, Andrew, and I think thank you for asking that question. In my mind, AI is almost on par to probably be much more meaningful in terms of a technology shift and transition that we will end up seeing, probably eclipse what we saw with the internet revolution in the early 2000s, or with mobile, in around 2010, or with cloud a little later. AI has the opportunity and the potential to eclipse all of that in terms of having the kind of impact on society and all of us in terms of the way we do our work, as well as at a consumer level as well. Yeah. And I think that's the reason why there's so much of a buzz ever since ChatGPT came out 6 months back, because I think it's forced a lot of enterprises to rethink their strategy around how they're reaching out to their end customers and their customers' customers, and look at every aspect of their business and say, are they incorporating AI or not? So one of the most popular refrains that we have seen over the last 6 months has been where boards have been asking their C-suites, what's your AI strategy?
Yeah.
and where are you folks on it? And I think that's something that we've almost in a lot of instances guiding our customers around how they could best equip and show some quick wins around leveraging AI in their own environment itself.
Yeah, it is fascinating. It's one of these, the timing around this, right? The intersection between kind of the labor market and how we've always staffed contact centers, how we've always staffed, kind of frontline work. With AI coming on the scene, there's a really interesting moment in history here, I think, right? Because what we're finding more than ever is there's massive pressure on CX leaders to do more with less, right? And in past years, when we've been able, when the answer to scaling operations was simply putting more butts in seats, if you will, adding more people, adding more bodies. Today, that's not practical. I can't hire my way out of problems anymore. And the answer is becoming very apparent around AI and automation to solve for that. Because frankly, enterprises are now being forced into that mode of, if I can't hire, I have to do something else because I still have to provide an amazing experience to my customers. Do you agree with that thesis?
Yeah, in fact, I would actually extend it one step further, Andrew. AI has the potential, and let me take a step back. I mean, if you look at the Industrial Revolution, what it ended up doing was impact a lot of blue collar work, if you will. A lot of workers in an assembly line in the factory, a lot of those kinds of tasks started getting more and more automated, if you will. AI has the potential and opportunity to impact how white collar workers end up executing their work, i.e. knowledge workers. Yep. And I think that's a profound shift. It's a tectonic shift in the way work gets done in every profession. It's not just about the contact center. I think the contact center is a subset. It's easier for people to relate to it. I mean, there are 17 million contact center agents globally. And for certain, there are going to be some elements of the work that they end up doing that can potentially get executed using AI. But also, much like every other technology shift, AI has the opportunity to be a co-pilot to the folks who are in these contact centers to help them execute the tasks in a more efficient fashion than what they did in the past. And I think that's what I'm personally very excited about, because I think the opportunities it poses and throws up is enormous. And I think we're just scratching the surface on that.
Yeah, no question. The innovation that we're seeing around this is just fascinating. Every day there's something new. The pace of innovation is nuts. By the way, I just want to mention to our attendees here, if you have any questions that you want to make sure get asked, or pop that into the chat, and we'll make sure that gets teed up for myself and Ritesh. Ritesh, there's all this increase in buzz about AI, no doubt. It's everywhere. But there's also a fair amount of kind of, that fear, uncertainty, and doubt around AI, right? There's a lot of concern about AI going rogue, giving us bad information, hallucinating. We talk about all those challenges, and the security and compliance concerns and all that kind of stuff. You and I have chatted about how you put guardrails around this. Talk about that for a moment, because how enterprises leverage AI, specifically generative AI, without compromising security, without compromising their IP. Speak to that for a moment.
I mean, today, if you look at most of our enterprise clients, I think there are about 5 broad themes that we are, as it pertains to AI itself, right? And some of the concerns and limitations that folks have around generative AI and the risks that it poses to enterprises. And you alluded to one of them, which was the hallucinations itself. I mean, people are concerned about the fact that, look, if something's not consistent, the AI is not consistent in what it ends up saying, does it pose a libel risk?
Yeah.
Or for that matter, if there's bias, does the bias create a reputational risk, as an example? Yep. Right? Data privacy is a question mark on the table. I mean, enterprises are very particular about safeguarding their own data. And does that create a security or a confidentiality risk itself, right? And which is why we've had a few instances where organizations have banned the use of ChatGPT and stuff like that for fear of proprietary private data getting out into the public domain itself. Or for that matter, even unclear sourcing, right? Where are we getting the necessary information. That poses a risk from a legal standpoint, IP, copyright issues, so on and so forth. Or for that matter, there could be just a bad actor, right? There could be just deliberate misuse, which could pose an operational risk. All of these things, I think we are in the first half of the first innings, if I have to use a loose-based analogy, in terms of figuring out how best to address all of that. And I think that's where there's still work to be done, frankly, to realize the significant benefits that AI can offer. And certainly there are many more benefits, but these are the places where guardrails need to be put in place.
Yeah, indeed. This view or perception that people have that AI is simply going to replace humans and it's going to automate everything. I believe that's really way out there. I think the key, and you speak about this eloquently. I'd love to get your thoughts on this. Without a human in the loop, we can lose some of the kind of the emotional element of a customer interaction, right? And that's why we're talking about how do you combine AI with EQ, if you will, to drive even kind of the ideal interaction with a customer. Speak to that for just a moment, because how can AI better inform our emotional intelligence around how we communicate with customers?
It's a great question, Andrew, and it's a little bit to I'll go back in time to Uniphore's history as an organization itself. We've always been AI native. We've been around for 15 years. We came out of a university incubation, and one of the things that we've invested in over the years is building out a whole slew of capabilities from a proprietary technology standpoint, whether it's the speech to text, whether it's the tonal emotion, whether it's computer vision, so on and so forth. And all of these technologies, when they come together, that's where the secret sauce is. So our view is that it's not just about generative AI, but the ability to fuse emotion AI, and emotion in the context of, just take this conversation, right? It's not just about the spoken word, but it's about the facial expressions. It's about the tone, the tonality with which the words are said. And all of those things contribute towards determining whether a person is upset, frustrated, so on and so forth. At the same time, also adding knowledge into the mix. So the ability to fuse generative AI, emotion AI, and knowledge AI, and do that at scale and do it real time, is, I think, where the secret sauce is. So one of the things that, if I take an example, and let's take a classic case of our favorite, neighborhood bank. And let's say Andrew, you've had this account with this bank for the last 15 years. You're a loyal customer, and one morning you wake up and you figure out that you've been levied some overdraft charges. You're livid, and you call up the bank's contact center. And when you're on the phone, your frustration is coming through. Wouldn't it be magical if the contact center agent, who was working off a predefined script, immediately altered his or her reaction based on the fact that they recognize the fact that you are upset?
Yeah.
There is a need for the agent to first de-escalate the conversation and try and get you to a solution or a resolution to the fact that the overdraft fees were levied before they could have what might have been a typical call flow itself.
Right.
This is the beauty of how you are able to bring emotion AI coupled with everything else that AI has to offer. I think the second example of it that I would throw, which is on the knowledge side, right? We work with an insurance broker, right? And this is an insurance broker who's dealing with a bunch of senior citizens, Medicare holders, and these are folks who call on the phone and they want to be told, is the plan from Aetna better, or Humana, or Cigna, or United Health, and so on and so forth. And if you look at the traditional, the plan details, a lot of those are in PDFs. They're voluminous. I mean, think about how hard it is for us to figure out our benefits coverage itself as a consumer, right?
Sure.
And if there was an opportunity to pull up all that information, convert what was unstructured and structured data in a meaningful manner, and then use generative AI to provide a summary which was available to the contact center agent, how much more effective would that customer experience be? That's the kind of stuff where magic happens.
Yeah.
And that's how Our view is when you're able to combine AI with, with the emotional quotient, with the knowledge component, and bring all these branches of AI together, I think that's when we are able to truly deliver a superior customer experience.
Yeah. In doing that, Ritesh, those are great examples. When we get a call from a consumer and they're upset about something, that's a dangerous call, right? I mean, if I mishandle that, and it escalates, they become even more upset. How many people do they tell about that experience? What does it do with a broader brand loyalty? There's a lot at stake based just on that one interaction. But if I can deploy the magic you're speaking of, right? I now turn that into a net positive for the business, right? As consumers, we all get upset, frustrated, whatever with a brand, but how that brand handles that interaction, how they solve that problem, can turn that right around into, wow, I'm a raving fan now, and I'm going to go tell a bunch of people why this is my favorite bank. This combination you're talking about enables brands to do that far more effectively.
100%. And one of the reasons why that's playing out, right, in some sense is, and I'll go back in time to, the iPhone, right? If you go back to 2007 when Apple introduced the iPhone, one of the first things that they did as a consequence of that is we started expecting a consumer experience in everything we did.
Yes.
Right. And what that also meant is that brand loyalty was ephemeral. People could switch brands at the drop of a hat. And that's one of the biggest challenges that enterprises today in every industry face. You have a bunch of traditional incumbents, you have a bunch of disruptors who are knocking on every category. And somebody who's able to offer a superior, immersive customer experience and can do that repeatedly and can do that at scale can snag consumers. People will switch for a better experience. Yes. And I think that I think is a big defining moment in my mind. The iPhone heralded that. And I think we're continuing to live through that. AI is only going to accelerate it even further.
Yeah, totally agree. And the brands that we're working with that are really leaning in on this, it's not just about, hey, let's drive costs out of the contact center with automation. I mean, that's a benefit for sure. But the ones that seem to be really, really winning here are the ones that are leveraging this for competitive advantage, right? We're gonna leverage this technology to attract, retain, delight more customers. We're gonna beat our competition at that game. Customer experience and AI around customer experience is really the new battleground, isn't it?
It is, and I think this is going to be, you hit on a very important point, Andrew, there. The opportunity to actually impact the trifecta. And what's the trifecta out here? I think you can have a superior customer experience, you can reduce costs and therefore get operational efficiencies, and you can accelerate stalled revenue growth. Yeah. The ability to do all these three things is a significant benefit to every enterprise. And I think that's where AI has a significant role to play. You can, on one hand, provide operational efficiencies by having a human in the loop and having an AI co-pilot so that you can take some costs out of the contact center and enhance experience. You can identify revenue signals so that you can have your marketing department go out there and reach out to people and provide them the right kind of offers. You can identify customers based on a poor interaction who are likely to churn and put course corrections or corrective steps up front before the event rather than after the fact. And all of those have the opportunity to not just improve top line and bottom line, but enhance customer experience concurrently. And I think that's a big benefit, which is why I think everybody is very, very excited about the potential and prospects that AI has to bring.
Yeah, no doubt. CX leaders, Ritesh, sometimes they look at this emerging world of AI and all the noise around it, all the buzz around it, and they walk through a CCW in Vegas and they see hundreds of vendors that are all talking about AI. Right? It's overwhelming. Where do I start? Let's paint this scenario. Let's say I'm a company that's doing maybe I do a billing and revenue, and I've got a contact center with 300 or 400 people servicing clients. And I'm just now starting to craft what my AI strategy might be. Well, if we look at the customer journey from the digital front door, when a consumer very first hits my website, all the way through kind of the life cycle management of that client, you guys play uniquely across that entire journey, right? I mean, you can affect conversion rates on the front end. You can leverage AI around digital automation and voice automation on the front end. You can inform agents better around agent assist and knowledge and being able to reduce handle time and increase first call resolution. The QA piece from end to end. You do all of that. What advice would you give an enterprise CX leader about what's the right jumping off point?
It's a great question, Andrew. Oftentimes, organizations, don't know where to get started because they're dealing with a wide range of, on one hand, bespoke point solutions that might be there. There could be platforms like what we bring to bear, which are modular and have the opportunity to get started at any point in the journey. My advice to a lot of organizations is on two fronts. Number one, understand both the customer and the employee journey. It's not one or the other. When I say the employee journey, if you're taking the contact center as a case in point, it's the agent in that contact center, but understanding CX and EX both. Mm-hmm. And recognizing the fact that this is an infinite loop. A better CX results in a better EX and vice versa. Yeah. And therefore understanding which pain point in that journey is not addressed. Why is that important? I think it's important for organizations and enterprises to start showing some quick wins. Once you know which part of that CX and EX journey has not been addressed, I think it's far easier to get started with a solution that plugs and plays into that. But then if you take something like what Uniphore has to offer, you get the foundational elements of the architecture and the platform and the AI capabilities that then allow you to build on top of that itself. And that modularity is useful. But the ability to get started, even if it's with something small so that you can show some benefits, becomes a recipe for doing a lot more and having a broader AI impetus in the organization.
Yeah. I love that. And I love the fact that because of the modularity, you're able to start with small little projects that can create, big impact. Talk to me about, give me some examples of that, right? Like what would be an example of a modular solution that I might layer into my existing kind of legacy CX infrastructure that might have a big impact like tomorrow?
Let me give you two examples, right? Okay. And I'll give it to you from two different industries so that you can see the range of what's possible. And I'll give you two kinds of examples, one which is a scale customer and the other which is which doesn't necessarily have the scale but can still derive significant benefits. So I have two contrasting examples, but hopefully that illustrates the point itself. Let's take the example of this client that we work with, which is a large telco, and they have close to about 30,000 agents in their contact center itself. The first use case that they started leveraging with us was around call summarization, which leverages the generative AI capabilities that we bring to bear, and the ability on their part to shave off between 30 to 35 seconds per call was meaningful.
Oh, yeah.
Number two, they got about 5 million calls every month, but about 25% of those calls were repeat conversations. And now, by virtue of the fact that there were call summaries that were there, which were far more accurate, which had more call dispositions provided, the ability to use the previously recorded summaries helped save another 1 minute on those repeat calls itself. Wow. All put together, that's a meaningful number, which translated into anywhere from $5 to $6 million of EBITDA a month. Wow. That's the kind of business benefit that lands on the top of the CEO's desk and says, how can I get more of this? Right. Yeah. So that's one example. Great. Simple use case. People can intuitively understand the fact, and they were able to derive those benefits, and that's ongoing. Let's take the example of a client we work with, which is in the hospitality space, which is a large casino. And what they wanted was the ability to, with call volumes being high, how could they deflect some of those calls and move some of the simple use cases to be in the digital front door, where maybe if it's a tech savvy consumer like me, I don't want to necessarily be speaking to an agent at the contact center, but I'm very comfortable specifying my preferences when I walk into the casino and what kind of food do I want and which shows do I want to see and so on and so forth. One of the things that they were surprised and amazed with, their business case and what we had committed to them initially was that they would be able to get about a 35% call containment, where those would be the volume of calls that would be deflected away from the contact center.
Sure.
6 months into the implementation, they're at close to about 52% of the calls deflected from that contact center. So those are pretty meaningful gains.
Yeah.
What it does allow a lot of these organizations to do, and you referenced this point, they're able to do more for less. They're
Yes.
able to grow and grow in a non-linear fashion, where they don't need to add operating costs at the same proportion as their revenue growth itself. And that's money in the bank, because it straight away translates into better profitability itself.
Yes.
So
yes.
both of these are examples of where organizations are coming in, with different pain points. The example I gave on the hospitality side had a much smaller footprint. There were about 300 people in their contact center, as contrasting the telco, which had several thousands of people in the contact center. But
Yeah.
the ability for the platform to take care of each of these on a modular basis is, I think, where again the opportunity exists for enterprises to come in and look for where those pain points are in the journey and start somewhere.
Yeah, that's great. Those are two fantastic examples, and well, that can scale all the way down into kind of the small medium company that has 50 agents, right? That is starting to figure out, how do I leverage this capability. I think another important consideration, I'd love to get your take on this, is for decades CX leaders have made big investments in contact center platforms, right? Like I've got the platform that handles all my core routing, and that's who I depend on, whether it's prem or cloud, right? I mean, I sink a lot of money into that. And as I want to grow capabilities, as I want to increase kind of the functionality and provide more advanced features around this, it's always been reinvesting in that platform, going to that vendor saying, what can you do for me in this area, right? And while we're seeing a ton of investment going into this space from the big platform providers, what we're finding is that the real cutting edge innovation is happening with these other companies like Uniphore that are bolting on, that are integrating with either your prem or cloud-based contact center platform. I'm curious to get your take on that, because where maybe I considered significant upgrades to my contact center every 3, 4, 5 years, the pace of innovation around this is so fast that if I'm waiting that long, I'm falling way, way behind. How would you speak to that?
It's an absolutely fair question. And one of the things, Andrew, that we're seeing is our position as being the system of intelligence, which sits independently and integrates into any system of telephony, any system of record. It could be a Salesforce on the CRM side, it could be a Microsoft Dynamics, it could be Epic on the healthcare side, it could be Guidewire on the property and casualty side, et cetera, et cetera. It could be Sabre on the travel and hospitality side. The ability to have all of those integration points, the ability to integrate into any of the contact center telephony providers, whether they're on-prem or on the cloud, provides enterprises that optionality to start realizing the benefits of the AI capabilities right from the get-go. I think the second reason why a lot of organizations prefer the independent capabilities that is there is because companies like us do this and nothing else for a living. This is what we think about 24/7.
Yeah.
This is what we live and breathe every morning through till the night. This is all that we want to do in terms of bringing the best of what AI can bring to each one of our enterprises itself. The other advantage that comes with this is also some of the investments we are able to make ahead of the curve. Example, we have pre-trained AI models in more than 13 industry verticals. What that allows organizations to do is to unlock value quicker by virtue of, and let me give you an example of that. I could be going to a bank and telling them, based on what I know of the kind of complaints that come or the kind of disputes that play up in every bank, I have a pre-trained AI model that is 70-80% good to go right at the get. And that can unlock value quicker from a time to value standpoint, which is critical because enterprises want speed to market as well.
Yes.
And anybody who's able to unlock that value sooner has a definite advantage as opposed to otherwise. Now, this is an area where, again, we are able to invest ahead of the curve by virtue of the fact that we've had now 15 years of all of these conversations and all of the rich insights that have come from those conversations across industry verticals and horizontals to be able to take these solutions and unlock value quicker. These are some of the reasons why I think enterprises then end up looking at a system of intelligence, which can seamlessly integrate with a system of telephony or a system of record itself.
Yeah, that's powerful. That makes a ton of sense. Hey, we're out of time here, but I want to give you the last word. You know, we talk with CX leaders every day, and our partners do as well. And it's back to this, you know, kind of what's this jumping off point? Where do I start? How do I get my mind wrapped around what a strategy might look like? Very simply, what advice would you give a CX leader right now that is just embarking on this journey around crafting their AI and automation strategy? In closing, what would you share some important wisdom here, my friend?
Yeah. I'm going to be mindful out here of what I end up saying, but I think the first point that I would probably tell everybody is have a plan in place in terms of what you're going to do leveraging the AI itself, because I think it's important, given the fact that the market dynamics in every industry sector over the next 3 to 5 years are going to shift. The kind of competition that you might end up facing, the kind of entrants who might come into the industry that you might not have thought about, and therefore the changing industry dynamics could pose existential risks. And therefore, the key in terms of how you leverage this, whether from a unit economic standpoint, whether it's from a competitive intensity perspective, whether it's around speed to market, all of these questions are on the table right now. And that would be the first thing that I would say. The second is get started on the journey. It's important to do something, even if it's small, get started. Dip your toes in the water, identify a couple of use cases, start seeing how it starts yielding benefits, and then continue to build on top of that. And I think that's important. Lots of times, and this is not the time to take it easy, to take it slow. I think there's a lot happening every week. You know, and I'm going back to the point that I made. The opportunity that AI has is unparalleled, and the kind of impact it's going to have is perhaps much more than what all of us have seen in our lifetime, whether it's the internet, whether it's cloud, mobile. I think it's probably going to eclipse all of that put together. And therefore, not doing anything is not an option.
Yes. That's a fantastic way to finish this conversation, Ritesh. We are painting a picture for our customers that there needs to be urgency around this, right? As another colleague of mine recently said, you are early until you're late. And that's kind of how this is going. If you're a CX leader right now, this isn't the time to just sit on the sidelines and just see what happens over the next couple of years, right? In that scenario, that's where you're going to definitely fall behind. And there are so many great ways to use your analogy, to dip your toe in the water, to start getting used to this cadence, to this pace of change, and this culture of innovation that you really need to foster inside of your business. What a great way to start doing that. Ritesh, awesome stuff. Really appreciate you carving out the time, my friend. This has been a great conversation. Looking forward to answering more questions of our customers as we go. Appreciate the partnership, my friend.
Thank you, Andrew, for having me over.
Excellent. Thanks, everyone.